Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today we have our very first Patreon-requested build, Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter. For a bit of background, Hisoka is a recurring and mysterious character across Gon's adventure, sometimes an ally, sometimes an enemy, and always a wild card. He is cunning and dangerous, and has an obsession with fighting strong opponents, which has led him to cultivate Gon's talents and to infiltrate the Phantom Troop in hopes of fighting its leader, Crollo. So what do we want from this build? Well, as a fully licensed hunter, Hisoka is a strong combatant, both physically and with Nen. In particular, his unique Nen abilities are Texture Surprise, a surface level illusion, and Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum. He's also a skilled magician, who uses Sleight of Hand to distract and unbalance his opponents. Looking over at ability scores, I'll be doing a point buy. If you want to roll for stats, that's fine, just make sure your Dexterity, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma are high enough to multi-class. Starting off with a 9 in Strength. It's lower than I'd prefer, but we need other things more. Like Dexterity, which will make a 13, so we can do card tricks properly. Constitution is only 11, again, we need other things more, and Hisoka has a habit of losing limbs. Then we'll make Intelligence 15. Hisoka isn't the strongest and doesn't have the most powerful Nen abilities, but his ingenuity more than makes up for it. We'll put a 12 in Wisdom so we can read people and act accordingly, and we need Charisma to perform, so we'll make that 13. Hisoka is a human, giving us +1 to all of our ability scores, and since he pretty clearly takes inspiration from the Joker, we'll do what we did for Harley Quinn and make him a Rakdos Cultist. That'll give us proficiency in Acrobatics and Performance, add a bunch of evil clown spells to any of our spellcasting lists, and gives us a fearsome reputation. We become infamous, lessening the chance that ordinary people will go against us or interfere in our business. Hisoka definitely made a name for himself thanks to his performance at Heaven's Arena. We're going to start off as an Artificer for proficiency in Arcana and Sleight of Hand. But wait, I hear you cry. Hisoka can't be an Artificer, he doesn't build machines or anything like that. To that I say, yes, you're right. But consider that Artifice can also be defined as trickery, craftiness, ingenuity, or inventiveness, all things that describe Hisoka. Also, we're only here for one level, and it gets us a bunch of stuff I want, so shush. One of those things is proficiency in Constitution saves, along with Intelligence saves. Our Constitution is lower than I'd like, since Hisoka seems to be impervious to pain, so this will help with that. We also get Magical Tinkering, letting us add a minor sensory effect to a tiny object. Now normally this is kind of an afterthought for Artificers, but it is actually the perfect Texture Surprise. As an action, we can touch an object to apply a static visual effect to it, which will last until we either dismiss it, or we make more than our Intelligence modifier, at which point the earliest one we made ends. Artificers also get 2 cantrips at level 1, and prepare spells from their entire spell list, so even a level 1 dip gets us a bunch of options. For cantrips, Thorn Whip lashes out at a creature within 30 feet using a strand of Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, dealing up to 4d6 piercing damage on a hit and pulling them up to 10 feet closer to us. Spare the Dying also uses Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, to quickly stick some wounds shut to stabilize a dying creature. Detect Magic uses N to sense other people's Nen, and Catapult, Snare, Jump, and Longstrider are all applications of Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, to slingshot objects, capture enemies, and let us jump farther and move faster. Next we'll jump over to Monk to get some fighting skills. Thanks to our martial arts, we can use Dexterity for the attack and damage rolls of our unarmed strikes and monk weapons. We use a d4 for their damage, and we can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action after taking the attack action. We also learn to protect our body with 10, as unarmored defense makes our AC 10 plus our wisdom and dexterity modifiers. Side note, can I just say how irritating it is that Hunter x Hunter is one of the few shows I've seen that actually has literally an exact analog for mage armor, but both of the characters I made for it have unarmored defense, and most of the characters in it probably have monk or barbarian levels anyway. I mean, that's not the point, we'll move on, but still. Monks get unarmored movement, increasing their speed by 10 feet while not wearing armor, as well as Ki to do cool Nen stuff. Step of the Wind lets us dash or disengage with our bonus action, and doubles our jump distance for the turn. Patient Defense lets us dodge as a bonus action, and Flurry of Blows lets us make 2 unarmed strikes with our bonus action instead of the 1 that we get from martial arts. 3rd level monks get Deflect Missiles to catch incoming projectiles, and a Shield of Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, reducing the damage from them by 1d10 plus our dexterity modifier and monk level. then letting us throw them back using a key point if the damage is reduced to 0. For our subclass, we'll become a Kensei, so we can pick some Kensei weapons, one melee and one ranged. I would say playing cards are probably just reflavored darts, so pick those and daggers. Those count as monk weapons for us, which is good since, fun fact, darts don't count as monk weapons normally. No idea why they're in the monk equipment list. Like, you know what does count as monk weapon? Javelins. Barbarians get javelins and monks don't, but javelins are monk weapons. Anyway, again, not the point. Kensei weapons. We can parry with our daggers. If we make an unarmed strike using the attack action and we're holding one of our daggers, we get +2 to our AC until our next turn. We can also channel our Nen to make our weapons more dangerous. As a bonus action, we can make any ranged attacks we make with our Kensei weapons that turn, deal an additional 1d4 damage on a hit. This does work for the daggers as well, since we can throw them, it's not just restricted to the ranged Kensei weapon. Kensei also get either calligraphers or painter's supplies. I'll say painters, I guess, so we can do our makeup. At 4th level, we can slow our falls down with our bungee gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, reducing the falling damage we take by 5 times our monk level. We'll also bump our charisma to 15 and round off our wisdom to 14 with our first ASI. At 5th level, our martial arts die increases to a d6. We can make 2 attacks instead of 1 with the attack action, and we can spend an end point to make a stunning strike, hitting Castro on the chin and dazing him if he fails a constitution save, stunning him until the end of our next turn. 6th level Kensei use their Nen to enhance both their unarmed strikes and Kensei weapons to overcome damage resistance, and once per turn when we hit with a Kensei weapon, we can burn an end point to deal an additional martial arts die of damage to them. Our unarmored movement also bumps up to +15 feet. Now, one of the unsettling things about Hisoka is how unfazed by everything he seems, so Stillness of Mind will end an effect of charming or frightening on us as an action, and Evasion lets us take no damage from passing a dexterity save and only half damage on a fail, rather than half damage on a success and full damage on a fail. Now, bear in mind we don't have proficiency with dexterity saves, so we are still vulnerable to, say, explosions. We'll finish up our monk levels by bumping our wisdom to 16 with our next ability score improvement, and move on to Rogue. Multiclassing into Rogue gives us 1 skill from the Rogue list, I'll say Athletics to make up for our low strength. Then we'll make it an Expertise, along with Sleight of Hand. We learn Thieves' Cant to talk to the other spiders, and we can make sneak attacks to deal additional damage with our finesse or ranged weapons as long as we had advantage on the attack roll, or there's an ally within 5 feet of the attack target. Now normally I make a big deal about how monks' unarmed strikes and monk weapons should count for this since they use dexterity thanks to martial arts, and they should, but it's less relevant in this case since daggers and darts are both finesse anyway. 2nd level rogues get Cunning Action, which generally renders Step of the Wind obsolete, since it lets us dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action without spending our Nen. It doesn't affect our jump distance though, so still use Step of the Wind for that, I guess. Assuming you don't want to just, spend a spell slot on jump. At 3rd level, our sneak attack damage bumps up to 2d6, and we can take Steady Aim as a bonus action, giving us advantage on our next attack roll this turn as long as we don't move before or afterward. Get Castro talking, set up a trap with Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, and then spring the trap. Speaking of Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, Arcane Tricksters get even more applications of that, like Mage Hand Legerdemain, letting us use Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, to make Sleight of Hand checks as a bonus action, and lets us make it invisible. Well, I say that we get more applications of Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, but really it's just the cantrips. Along with Mage Hand, Mending fixes a small crack or tear, like sticking our severed arm back on, and Lightning Lure is similar to Thorn Whip, in that it sticks some Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, onto a creature and pulls them closer. However, the range is only 15 feet, and it pulls them 10 feet if they fail a strength save, then deals up to 4d8 lightning damage if they're within 5 feet of us. Honestly, I just like to have the flexibility of either forcing save or making an attack roll. Our 1st level spells are actually better suited to Texture Surprise, since 2 of them have to be enchantments or illusions. Illusory Script writes a fake or hidden message to fool the spiders with a false prophecy, and Distort Value changes the appearance of an object to make it appear to be either half or double its normal value. For our non-enchantment or illusion spell, Cause Fear sends out our Malicious Wren, forcing a Wisdom save on a creature within 30 feet, frightening them for up to a minute on a fail. We don't have higher level spell slots yet, but cast it as a 2nd level spell to affect a second creature, so we can hit both Gon and Killua. At 4th level, we'll pick up Dissonant Whispers from the Rakdos Cultist list. Forcing a Wisdom save on a creature dealing 3d6 psychic damage and forcing them to use their reaction to immediately move as far from us as they can on a fail. Half damage and no movement on a success. We'll also grab the Performer feat with our ability score improvement, rounding off our Charisma to 16, bumping our Performance proficiency to an Expertise, and letting us distract people with our performances. While we are performing, we can make Performance versus a humanoid's Insight, and if we succeed, that creature has disadvantage on Perception and Investigation checks until we stop performing. Should help us set up our tricks and traps without our enemies noticing. Our sneak attack damage goes up to 3d6 at 5th level, and we get Uncanny Dodge to halve the damage of an attack that hits us as a reaction, as long as we can see the attacker. We'll finish up with some Bard levels, giving us proficiency in Intimidation and Bardic Inspiration. Hisoka does team up with people pretty often, so this will make us a team player, giving us a pool of d6s equal to our Charisma modifier that we can give out as a bonus action to add to one of our allies' attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws. For spells, Prestidigitation lets us do more fantastic sleight of hand by doing a bunch of minor effects like lighting flames, cleaning things, conjuring small objects, pretty much anything really. And True Strike is another way to set up a trick, giving us advantage on our next attack. On our next turn, as long as we're still concentrating. It's honestly really bad, especially since we also have steady aim, but hey, maybe we need to get advantage for a sneak attack, but we can't stand still for some reason. And since Hisoka always seems to be in the know, we'll grab Identify to know what any interesting magic items we find are. Jack of all trades at 2nd level makes us better at pretty much everything, adding half our proficiency bonus to any ability checks we make that don't use it, including our initiative. And Song of Rest takes some time to heal by adding a d6 to our healing when we spend hit dice on a short rest. 3rd level bards get 2nd level spells, like Enhance Ability to use Bungee Gum's extreme versatility, thanks to having the properties of both rubber and gum, to give us advantage on checks using the ability score of our choice. If we pick Strength, our carrying capacity also doubles. If we pick Dexterity, we don't take damage from falling less than 20 feet. And if we pick Constitution, we get 2d6 temporary HP. We'll also grab Hold Person, which traps a creature who fails a Wisdom save, paralyzing them for up to a minute with our concentration. Now remember how I said that Hisoka was always in the know? That might be because he's a lore bard, and as such gets proficiency in Perception, Insight, and Stealth, as well as cutting words to reverse our bardic inspirations, subtracting them from our enemies' attacks, ability checks, and saves using our reaction. We also get 2 more expertises, I'll say Perception and Arcana for our deep understanding of Nen. That understanding makes us really good at fighting other Nen users, so we'll take Mage Slayer at 4th level. Whenever a creature casts a spell within 5 feet of us, we get to make a melee attack as a reaction. We have advantage on saves against spells cast by creatures within 5 feet of us, and if a creature has to make a concentration save thanks to taking damage from us, that save is made with disadvantage. We'll also use Vicious Mockery to tear apart our opponent psychologically, dealing up to 4d4 psychic damage and giving disadvantage to their next weapon attack if they fail a Wisdom save. For spells at this level, we'll do some more with Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, with Nether's Mischief. For up to a minute, a 20-foot cube is subjected to magical effects that change randomly every turn. Either all creatures in the area who fail a Wisdom save are charmed by us for the turn, creatures who fail a Dexterity save are blinded by floating flowers, creatures who fail a Wisdom save are incapacitated as they giggle helplessly and use all of their movement to move in a random direction, or we fill the area with Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, making the area difficult terrain. Alternatively, we can enhance our acrobatic skills with Kinetic Jaunt, which increases our speed by 10 feet, stops us from provoking opportunity attacks, and lets us move through enemies without counting their spaces as difficult terrain. Though if we stop in their space, we're pushed aside and take 1d8 force damage. 5th level is all about upgrading our stuff. Our Bardic Inspiration dice bump up to d8s, and they refill on any rest instead of just long rests like before. We get Fear, which is like a better version of Cause Fear. Creatures in a 30-foot cone have to make a Wisdom save or become frightened of us and drop whatever they're holding. They also have to use their action to dash away from us, so if they end their turn without line of sight to us, they can repeat their save to try to end the effect. And See Invisibility enhances our vision with Gyo, letting us see things that are invisible or hidden with Een. Our capstone is the 6th level of Lore Bard for additional magical secrets, 2 spells from any list, along with our normal spells for this level. Spider Climb uses Bungee Gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, to stick to walls, letting us climb vertically and even across ceilings without using our hands. As Nistol's Magic Aura alters the feel of objects or our Nen by making them appear magical, non-magical, or like magic of a different school, to better conceal our tricks. In a similar vein, non-detection uses Zetsu to hide our aura, by making it or an object undetectable by divination magic, such as detect magic. And slow is one last use of bungee gum, which has the properties of both rubber and gum, spreading it in a 40-foot cube. Up to 6 creatures in the area make a wisdom save or get -2 to their AC and dexterity saves. Their speed is also halved and they can't take reactions. They can take either an action or bonus action on their turn, not both. They can only make one attack on their turn, and if they cast a spell, they roll a d20, and on an 11 or higher, the spell is delayed until their next turn, when they either use their action to finish the spell or waste the spell entirely. And we'll get Counter Charm, giving our allies advantage on saves against Charming and Fear as long as we're performing to really be a team player in Dodgeball. Now that the build is complete, the question becomes, how good is it? Well, we have lots of options. We can play support, we can go for damage, we can scout, we can really do a little bit of everything. If we do go for damage, we're also dealing consistent damage, with enough ways to get advantage that with our sneak attack, we're generally hitting for at least 5d6 magical damage every turn. We're also better at being a spy than most people, with Spider Climb and spells to both hide and not let other people hide, letting us get in and find out what we need, then get out. On the other hand, too many options can be just as bad as not enough options if you try to find the right option and can't decide what to do. We're also multi-ability dependent, with our highest stats being the 316s in our mental stats, so we aren't as good at some things as we would be if we could invest in just 1 or 2 stats. And finally, we're still a little bit squishier than I'd prefer, with about 115 HP, meaning that we probably aren't winning long drawn-out fights against someone who can see through our tricks. But really, that's Hisoka in a nutshell. He's a powerful opponent for anyone, but he's also a bit on the arrogant side, so it's not unlikely that he'll get in over his head now and then. Still, his bungee gum is extremely versatile and can see him through most situations thanks to his tactical brilliance. I just wish I knew how bungee gum worked. It's not really well explained.
密かの言動を規制している剣はかなり強制力の大きな能力だ。やっぱりいいよ、あなたは。絶対にあなたは僕がやる。
I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below. Leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more, and if you want to support what I'm doing here, you can check the description for the link to my Patreon for access to the Discord channel and early access to future builds. Thank you for watching, friends. I will see y'all later.